Okay, fine.
Right. So there's a few sort of basic principles when you're reharmonizing something. The first one is the tonic chord can often be replaced or substituted with chord 6 or chord 3. And the reason for that is if you look at in the key of C major, we look at a C, just an ordinary C triad. If you look at chord 6, A minor 7, two of the notes are in both chords.
Right,
If you look at C major 7 and then put A underneath it, you've got A minor 9.
right.
If you look at E, just an E minor triad, that's like the top three notes of C major 7. And if you play E minor 7, that's like the top four notes of C major 7. So it's very often the case that when you want to, colour something up, add variety to it, you can change that chord um, for one of those two. Now, for instance, going back to C there, you could say, okay, well, let's try changing that to chord 6. So that kind of works. Or you could say, let's change it to chord 3. And then to chord 6.
Okay.
So
And you,
that's an important sort of step with any reharmonization that the tonic.
so when you first look at it, how, right, you're playing the tonic, so you would play it as a C6 to begin with, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
right. So and the C6 is the A minor 7. So in a sense, you're really playing the A minor 7th to begin with.
Well, you are. It doesn't feel like A minor 7 with C in the bass, so it's got to be in the
Right.
bass to
Okay.
feel like C minor 7.
I mean, because of the basic, the sound is different, is what you're saying, right? It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
chord, but with the A and the
It's
bass,
the
it's the
same
same sound.
same notes, but it sounded.
Okay. Okay, I got it. All right, so I'm gonna take notes on
Okay.
it. We got the three possibilities, and we have it recorded. So we've got the A minor and the E minor. Okay, this is great
Yeah,
because these are the kinds of things that I can put to use like immediately. Like I try sort of
yeah,
pick up when I'm playing music. I look at like what the composer does, and I notice like very commonly what they'll do is they'll go to a sus and then a flat nine rather than just play the
yeah,
chord at the end. They'll play
yeah,
like you know what I mean with for the dominant chord,
yeah,
a sus and then a
yeah,
flat nine. Anyway,
yeah,
that kind
certainly.
of thing.
So the next thing is, and this is where really this is where it starts to get really fun, is you can take any chord. You wouldn't usually do it at the very beginning, but you can take a chord, usually at the end of a phrase or the end of part of a phrase, and say I'm going to tonicize it, which means make that the new tonic.
Right.
So if we were substituting A minor 7 for the C in the second bar, you could say, right, we'll tonicize it by playing the dominant seventh of A minor just
Play
before it.
E7 before the A. Is that it?
Yeah, so it kind of changes the feel of it. Um,
Let me see that. Let me see the. Let me see that E. That. Let me see you playing the
so
E. Go through it slowly.
now I'm
Okay.
playing it with a flat ninth in.
Okay. You see. Right. You're playing it with. You're
So
playing the E. Right with the flat
so
nine.
that
Yeah.
that's E7, but
Right.
I'm putting the flat ninth in,
Right.
and then okay. Now just going back, I know that this isn't reharmonization, but it's creating a little bit of inner movement.
I'm taking a note. The E7 you played
Sure.
as the flat nine.
Yep.
Actually, the diminished chord. Okay.
Yep. That's it. Now, this is not a reharmonization, but it's just something that we do all the time on major chords. The major seventh goes to the sixth. So with my left hand, I've got the root, the major seventh,
Right.
going to the sixth. Now, here's another thing. That chord, E7, we could actually keep the C in the bass there and then go on to the A minor 7. Now, say, well, hang on, why does that work? Well, that's what we call a tonic pedal note. Have you heard of pedal notes before?
I want to walk away from this with 100% absorption
Sure,
of what you're saying. So let's
sure.
talk about
Okay,
what
so
we did.
are you okay
Last
with
thing we
the...
did was, last thing we did was a secondary dominant in front of the A minor. That's what we
Yeah,
did.
sure.
Let's pick up from there
Yeah,
again.
okay. So that was the secondary dominant, E7 with a
Right.
flat 9.
Okay.
Now, what I'm saying is a tonic pedal is where you change the chord but keep the tonic in the bass. And sometimes the chord might not really belong to that bass, but it kind of works. So you're getting that discord there.
Okay, so you're going up to the G. You're right. You're keeping the C in the as a pedal note in the bass.
That's it. Yep. Yep. And also, I'm going to just change the arrangement of the notes like. So instead of playing it like that, I'm just going to play. It's like a drop 2 voicing. That's the diminished part of that E7. I'm
Wait,
taking the.
take
It's
drop 3.
sorry. I said a drop. Yeah, sorry. It's a drop 3. Yeah. So. And then.
Let's just take a second out for a second to discuss.
Sure.
Barry Harris does that also. The first time I was introduced to it, it was after he showed
Yeah.
the minute 6. Then he goes, "Okay, now we're going to do it in drop 2," and of course,
Yeah.
it sounded better. Is there any simple explanation for why drop 2 sounds? Is there any? Just take it for what it's worth. That's life.
Yeah. Sure. It's because it's like a choir. Block chords are like a barbershop quartet
Okay.
when they're all singing very close to each other.
Right.
Drop 2 and drop 3 are like
It's
a
changing
more
the
sort
harmony a
of
little bit.
open.
Right. I
Well,
got it.
it's not changing the harmony. It's changing the voicing, the
Okay.
arrangement of the notes in the chord,
It's changing.
and it's
It's like choosing a member of the choir he's out of the sequence of the 4. You make him either higher or you move him a little. You move the second
yeah,
to the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
You put a
Yeah,
bass in.
I mean, actually, this sort of analogy of the choir is a good one to explain about. When I've talked about the way you voice chords in general,
Right.
that if you play all the chords with just your left hand, it would be like having a choir with soprano, alto, tenor, and bass,
Right.
but the soprano up there, and then the alto, tenor, and bass all right down at the bottom,
Right. Okay.
instead of being sort of spread out between them. So that on the piano, particularly, voices where they are spread out kind of work. Yeah, not all the time. Sometimes you have little clusters,
Right.
but generally a
So
drop voicing.
after you learned how to play as part of your training, after you got to a certain level, then you learned how to play drop 2 because it was it added a more interesting flavor to it.
Yeah, I mean the thing to do is just to take take the Barry Harris scale. This is in block chords, like that. And then just say, okay, let's just play that. Just take the next to the top note
Drop it out,
and
right?
put it at the bottom. Now, that also means you are playing fewer notes, because when you're doing it like that, the right hand is playing 4 notes, the
Right.
left hand 1. Drop 2, you're only playing 3 notes right hand and 1 in the left hand. And now we get.
Okay.
So it's a useful voice. I mean, there's a time and a place for that
Right.
as well. So don't discard that, because that is used quite a bit as well.
Okay. Let me ask you one other.
So
I got it. Let me ask you one other
sure,
question. Yeah. One other. Unless you have something important that you were going to finish before I.
no,
Okay.
no, no, go on.
This is. I'm. It's like it's sort of a segue, but nevertheless, we'll come right back. I promise. I just wanted to ask you this question: when people write music, okay, this is more of a theoretical thing. And when I listen to music, when I'm playing it or I'm trying to just put together something interesting, it seems to me like theoretically, like from a scientific perspective, whether something is in the key of C or it's up a half note or it's up 2 half notes or whatever, it shouldn't really make any difference. I mean, basically, like you can push a button on, for example, a
Yeah,
keyboard and you can shift it. Okay, and mathematically,
yeah,
basically, it's all the same. The relationships between all the keys are the same. However, it just seems to have struck me that if I was composing or trying to write something, I wouldn't try to write it in the key of C. I would pick a key that I'm not used to hearing because it
yeah,
just sounds more interesting for me to hear chords in a slightly different way than I'm used to hearing them. Now, is that
yeah.
my imagination that it seems to me that it's more interesting very often when I hear something in a different key, or is it just no? You just push the button; it sounds the same if it was played in the key of C or played in the key of E flat. Is it my
Yeah.
imagination, or is it all this?
No, it's not. It's to do. Have you heard of the concept of it called equal temperament? I mean, I don't fully understand the science of it, but
Right,
it's all to do with overtones and everything. But basically, somewhere along the line, somebody devised this system of, they call it equal temperament, which means that the note F sharp sounds on the piano the same as G flat. Now, in actual fact, a real F sharp and a real G flat are not exactly the same. They've been artificially forced
okay,
to
right,
sound the same. And therefore, things do have a different effect in different keys. For instance, sharp keys tend to sound bright somehow.
right,
Flat keys have this mellow tone about them.
right.
And you're not imagining it. That says you've got good ears. If you can tell,
Right.
you
So,
think,
like,
yeah.
sometimes you listen to
You used
something.
to puddle me for ages. That.
Listen to something like that Cole Porter wrote or Richard Rodgers, and you go, "Oh, that's so beautiful," and then
Yeah,
you play it in the key, listen to it in the key of C, and it's fine, but it just
but it's
doesn't
not the
seem to
same, is
have
it?
that
No.
thrill that you felt when you
Yeah,
heard it in the key that it was written in.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not
No, it's
that's real. Is that what you're saying?
oh, that is real. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely real. Yeah, yeah. In fact, I was reading a paper that somebody had done about. Now, what was it? Something to do with Barry. Oh, yeah. The thing about the related dominance.
Hmm.
Yeah, because the diminished when you play a diminished seventh chord and then put each one of the notes down a semitone, you'll get
Right.
4 different dominant
Right.
chords. And he calls them the
Right. He
family
calls
of
them
related
brothers. Yeah.
dominant sevenths. Yeah. Now, um, there was something, I can't remember who this paper was by. It was on Google Scholar, but it was a really fascinating one. but partly because it got loads of examples of Chopin using what Barry
Right,
Harris
right,
did, you know. But anyway, but he was saying about this thing that he said violin players pick up on this. That if you play that diminished seventh chord and then play those four different root
right,
notes, he says you sometimes you can pick out that some of the notes of that diminished seventh just seem to alter slightly, even though they're not doing.
right,
And that is because of equal temperament.
right.
So you know,
What I was
it's
playing with the other day, sometimes you get really involved, like with the theory, and I was sitting there and I realized, sort of with each, without moving my hand,
yeah,
you can play eight chords, not just four.
yeah.
Because
Oh yeah,
if you
yeah,
move three fingers and keep one finger, like if you move three of them up a half instead of and
yeah,
keep one, then you get the four other chords.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I think that's it. You can't get more than eight, I don't think, without moving your hand.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a fascinating concept. It really is. Do you know? I keep meaning to. I don't know if it's still running, but have you ever looked at these courses on MOOCs, massive open online courses?
Right.
Things like headaches and Coursera and that. There was a course in the science of equal temperament and
Oh,
everything,
right.
explaining it all. And I thought, one day I must really
I've
get,
looked at some of
you
that
know,
stuff. Like I don't have the patience for it anymore for the mathematics. I mean, if I was a kid, when I was a lot younger, maybe it would. But I
yeah,
sort of got the understanding that they had to divide it up into equal
yeah,
temperaments in order to make everything come out even. And yet,
yeah.
there's a small error associated with it, and that's life.
I mean, the reason equal temperament was created it was so that you can you can modulate into other keys. You know, you can
Right.
just drift from one key into any other key, which you wouldn't be able to do without equal temperament.
Right.
So you know that's the reason it exists. So
Okay.
where
Sorry
did
for
I get to?
interrupting
Oh
you.
yeah, no, no, not at all, no. So yeah, so there's the moving line thing. That's the major seventh going to the major sixth, and then it's like an E7, but I'm keeping the C in the bass. Now, what I'd actually do just there is play an E minus 7 chord first, and so that I'm playing just an octave E with B there, the third, the seventh, the root again, and then I'm changing that to a C chord just in first inversion like that. And the reason I'm doing that is I can then go on to a diminished seventh chord and do. So that's got a few stages further forward. So I've got to explain why I wanted to
Right.
do that. So this is another important concept now, and that is when you've got a dominant seventh in a bar, you can always change that to the 2 minus 7 of that dominant 7, followed by the dominant 7. So in bar 3, when it says G7, which would be, I'm playing D minus 7 first.
Okay.
D minus 7,
In front of the G. Is that what you mean?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
saying,
Yep.
and then, and taking that a stage further, because I'm playing D minus 7, as you know, D minus 7 contains the same notes as F6.
Right.
So therefore you can use the Barry Harris major diminished scale of F major
Right.
with those chords. So I've got D minus 7, then the diminished 7
Right.
passing chord, D minus 7 again, and then I'm going to G7, but I'm playing it like this. Now
Down an octave.
that's,
Down an octave. Is that what you did, or what did you change? You
so,
went down an octave.
right, I went down an octave, but I've opened, all those were block chords,
Okay. Right. Right.
and then I've gone like that. Now, the left hand there, I'm playing the root, the seventh, the third, so that's sort of the skeleton of
Right.
the chord. And then the top three notes are one of those upper structure triads.
Right.
So that's the upper structure on the 13th, which on its own
Right.
just
E is
looks
the
like
13th
a...
G. Right. So that's...
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. And that works nicely, that. So I'll play that from the beginning. And if you look at that bit, you notice you've got the D coming down to the C, the B going up to the C going to C sharp, and the C going down to B flat. So we've got... Now that diminished seventh chord is the one from the F6 diminished seventh. The reason it works, remember, is that diminished seventh chord, if you're thinking of it as F6, is like a C7 with a flattened ninth.
Oh, right.
Or if you're thinking of it as D minor 7, it's A7 with a flattened ninth, which is the dominant of D minor. So that's why the diminished seventh
the diminished
works.
chord is a whole step up from the first note of the diminished note is a whole note above the tonic of the C. Like in C, it would be the C. It would right. The diminished chord would starts a whole note up. So in the case,
No, it's starting a semitone above the A there.
so let's see, the chord is F. If the chord is F, then doesn't isn't a G diminished or not?
Oh, right, sorry, yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood what you were saying then. Yeah. So again, why does that work? Well, because the E is the 13th, and if you think of that G sharp, not as G sharp, but A flat,
Right.
then you've got flat ninth. So you've got
Right.
flat ninth and 13th. You could also play that. Don't think it works quite so well in this context.
Right.
That is the
Flat 13th.
A flat minor. It's an A flat minor triad. It's another upper structure triad on the a minor triad on the flattened ninth. But as I say, in this case, it doesn't really kind of work so well, does it? You could also just play the flattened nine like that.
Right.
So all of those are possibilities. To turn it up.
Okay.
I've absolutely no idea where that was coming. It was coming from my phone, but I don't know what app or anything it was. Anyway,
Okay.
whoops, turned it off. So, and then what did I do? Oh yeah. Now, this is the first place then where we can do an example of that diminished chord with a different function altogether, where we're playing a C diminished chord in place of a C chord. So this is another sort of one of the principles about reharmonizing,
Right.
that you can change a tonic or a dominant to a diminished seventh with the same root. Now this has a different function. It's not functioning as a dominant anymore. As in the passing chords, they're like dominant chords with a flat ninth. That's the way it's functioning. That feels like D minor.
It's functioning as a passing chord. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the passing chord feels like it feels like you're going 1 5 1 5 1 5. In other words, D minor 7,
Let me see
A
the
7.
let me see the passing chord. Show me what you so I can see it.
Okay, so that's the D minor 7.
Right.
That's the passing diminished seventh chord. But that is functioning as a dominant. If I put the A down in the bass,
Right.
it's an A7 with a flat 9. So in that context, the diminished seventh functions as a dominant. That feels like 1 5 1.
Okay. So
Now,
the third chord, is it going back to? Is it the same as the Barry Harris thing, or is it something different?
this is exactly this. Not the now the next example though, what I'm going to talk about
Right.
is a different function of a
Right.
diminished
The Barry
seventh
Harris
chord
one, that one
altogether.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand
Well,
that.
I mean, but Barry Harris also uses the one I'm going to talk
Right.
about now.
Right.
Different people explain it in different ways. I'm going to give you the explanation in a classical context, a
Okay.
traditional functional harmony thing. Say, right, what's the tonic chord? So we're only thinking here of a C major triad. Now, we've talked before about appoggiaturas. Now,
Right.
they are non-chord notes, but they're played on the beat, as opposed to an unaccent passing note. Like, if I go from C to E, but with a D in the middle, 1 and 2, that's an unaccented passing note.
Right.
And then if I go from E to G, it's another unaccented passing note. Now, an appoggiatura is a non-chord note played on the beat, but then it resolves to the beat, to the chord note, sorry. Now, a lower appoggiatura, I always struggle to say that word, appoggiatura.
Show an example of each as you
Yeah, sure. So, if you just take a C triad,
Right.
a lower appoggiatura to C would be B. A lower appoggiatura to E would be D sharp, and
Right.
to G would be F sharp.
But each one is on the
And
beat.
up,
That's it. Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, an upper appoggiatura is the next note up in the key that you're in.
Okay.
So, in other words, an upper appoggiatura to C would be D. To E, it would be F. To G, it would be A.
Okay.
And in this context, if I play a diminished seventh chord like that, and then resolve it like that, what you've actually got there is two lower appoggiaturas
Okay.
going up a semitone, and one upper appoggiatura going down like that. Now, in sort of jazz, we wouldn't want to just end up with just a triad. So what we tend to do there is keep the top one where it was and make it C6. Now, you've got to be careful what the melody note is though when you try and use that, because for instance, if the melody note was an E and you tried playing a C diminished chord underneath, so play it there, you get a terrible discord. Right. Because you've got the E there. So you couldn't do it there. It works just here though on the with the D there, because in actual fact the D is functioning as another upper appoggiatura. So and if you just put a little arpeggio there, just go C, G, C. Is that all? Did you think you got all those points up to there?
Yeah, I'm watching you. Whether yeah, I mean, I'll be able to
Sure.
watch.
I mean, I'm covering quite a bit, so I'm going to recap a little bit. So, a tonic chord can be substituted with either chord 6 or
Right.
chord 3. Sometimes you put one of them, then the other. Now, if you do that, you would generally put chord 3 followed by chord 6 because the root movement there is down a fifth. So, E down to A is down a fifth, which is a strong progression.
Right.
So if you substitute,
What I'd like to do is actually just take one of these sheets, and just let's go to the screen where we can see the notes in blue. Can you go to that?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So now let's
So,
yeah, just let's start with each one. So first, play it, and then substitute the A minor, then substitute. Just do each one slowly. The A
okay.
minor, and then saying what you're doing, then do it, and then
So the first thing I did was in bar 1, I'm not doing a chord substitution, I'm just creating a little inner movement by having the major 7th B go to the 6th. Okay, now thinking ahead, I'm thinking of the next bar and saying we could put E minor 7 there. Now you could do two things. You could say E minor 7 going to A minor 7. I'm doing slightly different thing. I'm making it E minor 7, changing it to just a C chord in first inversion. And then changing that to the diminished 7th chord. Why am I doing that? Right, we need to look at the bar after, the G7 bar. And remember the really important concept that whenever you've got a dominant 7th chord, you can substitute it with its chord 2 followed
right,
by the dominant 7. So G7,
right,
chord
be D
5 in
minus
the key of
7.
C,
Right.
D minor 7. So I'm playing D minor 7 going to G. Now going back then to the bar before, sorry, wherever. Why am I playing that diminished chord there? Because that is the diminished 7th chord which leads to D minor 7. You can think of it as an A7 with a flat 9th going to D minor 7, so that's a 5-1. Another way of thinking of it is say D minor 7 contains the same notes as F6.
Right.
So the Barry Harris major 6 diminished scale, that is the diminished seventh passing chord, and that is the one that I put at the end of bar 2.
Okay.
And then carried on with the Barry Harris scale. And then on the last note of that first line, the B, we're going to play G7 there, so that's the third. We need the root and the seventh, and then I'm putting an upper structure 6 or 13 in there, an E major triad on top of the shell of the G7 chord. And the reason that works is the E is the 13th.
Right.
If you think of the G sharp as A flat, it's the flat 9th, and that's the 5th. Now, on the next bar, another important concept here, we can, whenever you've got a tonic or a dominant, you can put a diminished seventh on that same root and then change to that chord. So in other words, if it's a C chord, you can have C diminished seventh going to C6. If it was on the dominant, you could do it like this.
We're talking about bar 4 now? Where are we?
Yes, bar 4.
Okay. Now, when you when you write this in as C major 7, what would you write the other C's in as?
Right. So that you would put that's C diminished chord.
Okay.
And then changing to C6 chord. So again, I'll just go through, now we've got the virtual keyboard on. Why does that work? Because this is not a dominant function of a diminished seventh. It's a combination of Appoggiaturas. So if you take an ordinary C major triad.
Okay, we're starting at the beginning of bar 4, right at the end of on that D.
Yes, on the D, yeah.
Okay.
So Appoggiaturas are non-chord notes, either from below a chord note or above it, and they resolve onto the chord note. When they come from below, they are always a semitone below the chord note, and they resolve upwards by a semitone onto the chord
they're
note.
in the scale. When they come from below, they're a semitone
They're
below.
semitone, that's it, yeah.
Semitone below, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So if we play a C diminished chord, C diminished seventh, those two notes are lower Appoggiaturas. The A is an upper Appoggiatura. But in jazz, we would tend to keep.
Just do it slowly. Just start with the diminished chord. Okay, now the
so
lower
that's the diminished.
The lower
So
do the hold that chord with your left hand. Okay. Use your left hand to hold that chord. You got it? Now take your right hand and put it on top. And show me which notes are the Appoggiatura notes and how they move.
Okay. So those two are lower Appoggiaturas to the 3rd and the 5th.
Okay, right.
Now the A, if it was classical music, the A would normally go down, but we don't want to be left with just a triad. We want at least a 6th or a 7th chord. So what we would tend to do there is just keep the A where it is, so that we get C6. Now the D at the top is the melody note, but very conveniently, which is why it works just here, it goes down to the C. So you can think of the D as an upper Appoggiatura to C. So we've got a total really of 4 Appoggiaturas there. That one though, we just keep where it is and it changes into C6.
I thought you said the definition. You said the definition of an Appoggiatura going up is in the scale. And you said going down.
No, going up. Sorry. If it's approaching the chord note from below, it approaches it from a semitone below. as in
Okay.
the C would be approached from the B, the
Okay.
E from the D sharp, G from the F sharp.
Okay.
Now, an upper one, that by upper I mean a note, a non-chord note played a step above the chord note, resolving onto the chord note, but it comes from the scale of the key
Okay.
that
So
you're in.
coming from the top,
So
it's a scale note, and coming from the bottom, it's a chromatic note.
yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. So the D in the melody here works well because it resolves to the C. It's an upper appoggiatura to the C.
Okay.
Now, if you play an arpeggio down in the left hand there, at that point you've got G, which you might feel a little dissonance, but when they're so widely apart, it doesn't matter so much. If you played it up, higher up, then you would feel the dissonance, but just there. So, is there anything up to that point that you need covering again?
I think so. Just the last point you were going over the Appoggiatura. Just re,
Yeah.
just re, just. I feel like it's embarrassing not to be able to get this thing right away and have it obvious.
Oh,
Uh,
believe me, I didn't get it straight away by any means. Honestly, don't feel bad about that.
so
No.
wait. So, well,
So,
I have everything you have up until the last one. Just repeat again. What when
okay, sure,
we're on the let's see, one, two, three. We're on the first bar of the second line, correct?
sure.
Okay.
So, first of all, what's important is an appoggiatura is a non-chord note. It's not a note that's in the chord,
Right.
and it's played on the beat. So
Right.
it creates a dissonant sound, but it always then resolves onto the chord note. So you get this wonderful tension and resolution thing. An appoggiatura can be below a chord note or above it. If it's below a chord note, it's always a semitone below. If it's above it, it's always the next note up in the key that you're in. So that it's always important when you're playing music, because of course the chord of C major is not just in the key of C major. C major is chord 4, for instance, in the key of G major.
Hmm.
So you've got to think, what key am I in when you're working out the appoggiaturas. Now,
Right. You're
if
right.
you
Right.
have
You're
a
right. But you have
combin,
to think of what. Okay. Right. So right. You have to think of what key you're in because depending on what key, you just continue that line. So because depending on what key
yeah.
you're in, that's
So if you were saying, right, what's an upper appoggiatura to the note E in a C major chord? Well, it depends what key you're in. If you're in C major, the upper appoggiatura there would be F. But if you were in the key of G major, the upper appoggiatura there would be F sharp.
I see. Good. Right. Right. Right.
So, and it would, the
Yeah,
whatever key you're
that
in
was good to point
affects,
that out. That was good to point that out. That's right. Okay.
but it does, the context of a chord changes very much the way that chord feels.
Right.
Depending on what's come before it and what's come after it, and your sense of being in a key. So, a combination of three different appoggiaturas can produce a diminished seventh chord by having two lower ones and one upper one. Now, in classical harmony, they would resolve like this to C major. Now, in jazz, we tend to want more than a triad, so just keep the A down, and then you've got a C6
Okay.
chord. Now, you can't do this sort of wherever you like. It's got to fit with the melody. In actual fact, a lot of the time it's not going to work. And a classic example is if the melody is E and you try putting a C diminished chord in, you get an awful discord.
What I'm
So
trying to do is trying to think when I'm playing. How am I thinking about this? I see the chord, for example, this a C is written on the lead sheet. So I'm thinking in my head, how am I going to approach it? Is that it?
you're thinking all the time, how can I make this more interesting?
Right.
And one option on, I mean, we've talked about the option of substituting a tonic with either chord 6 or chord 3 or
Okay.
with both. And then another option is by the use of a diminished seventh chord, but only if it fits with the melody. And really, you have to try the melody note and check it. Just listen. Does that sound right? Now, in this case, it works very well because the D functions as an upper appoggiatura to the C. Some traditional theorists would have said that the whole notion of ninths, 11ths, and 13ths is a false one, and that they are simply upper appoggiaturas, which in a way they're right, but you can't escape the fact that everybody calls them 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths.
Right.
But it does kind of help to realise that, because a ninth, say on a C7, that ninth really is an upper appoggiatura to the C. The 11th is, of course, a suspended full and wants to go to the third.
Right.
The
The
13,
place where I'm getting hung up with the appoggiatura is that the appoggiaturas from above and from below. From above, they want to move down. What?
well, from
Scale tone?
above, yes,
A
yeah,
scale tone.
yeah. They're always going to a chord note.
Okay. Oh, they're moving down a scale tone from above.
Yes,
Right. So the D, if you're moving to the a chord C, the D will
yep,
move to the C. Okay.
yep, that's it,
If you
yeah.
have a B, the B will move to the C because it moves up a semitone.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
It's the same thing, by the way, that you hear about. A lot of people talk these days about enclosures or encirclement when they're improvising, which is that you can, if you're improvising around a C chord, you can approach these notes from above or below, and these are appoggiaturas, exactly the same.
right. So
So,
let me tell you. Let's just. I know we're taking it slightly off topic, but just
sure,
let's look. Suppose we're looking at. Let's take it. We're talking about, let's say, dominant chords now. What are we talking about in particular? Or it doesn't
right.
matter. We're talking about a dominant.
It's two chords we're talking about here, the tonic and the dominant. It's quite common in
Right.
both
Now, it's
cases.
a situation where we see a dominant and we realize that we can put in the two chord before it and consider it the five. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's not the
So let's
diminished
now
thing though. That's
let's
a different
look
thing.
at an. Put okay. Take your hand on the keyboard and now put that. Play an E flat seven. Okay. Now you want to play. Okay, a B flat minor before the E flat, correct?
Yep. Okay. So
Okay.
I would play it something like this, or I could keep the ninth down like that.
Okay.
Sorry, I mean keep the F down, which then becomes the ninth of E flat 7.
So again, so go play the E flat. Here's the play the E flat 7.
E flat 7 in its basic form is that. Now I wouldn't play it like that though. I would play it like, say, that or that.
Let's see what you're doing here.
Okay, right. So let me talk you through that. So that's an E flat 7 in root position.
Right.
Now, generally speaking, with something like that, what I would do is take the third and the seventh out of the left hand and put them in the right hand.
Okay.
So I've now got an open voicing. It doesn't matter if you've got them like that, third and seventh, or take that one down there. Now we've got seventh and third.
Right.
Either of those are fine. Now, after that, with a dominant seventh, you would say you always want at least one other note. And the first thought is always a ninth. So I would put the ninth there.
Okay.
Or, if I was playing E flat 7 like that, perhaps have the F up there. I think that's a nicer one myself, like that. You could have the flat ninth, like that.
I guess it depends depending on the melody how much you want the 9 accentuated. If you want right.
Yes, yeah. Very often the melody will be an upper extension anyway.
Right. So often the melody will be the 9, so that's it.
Yeah.
Top.
Or it could be the 13th or whatever.
Right.
So that's always something to take into consideration. You could add the 13th to that, which is C there.
Okay, so let's go through a few of these. So we have E flat, and you went from you played the E flat 7.
Started off with it in root position like that.
Okay.
I've taken the third, which is G, excuse me, and the seventh, which is D flat, out of the left hand and just put them up an octave. So we now have an open voicing. The third and the seventh, though, don't have to be that way, third with seventh above. They can be reversed,
Right.
played like that. Now, with either of those two, you can add the ninth, which is F, so I can put it there. Or I can put it at the top, like that. And with either of them, you can make that the flattened ninth instead.
Right. For the time being, if you don't mind, I'm familiar with the the ability to add the fifth and the ninth. So
Sure.
let's exclude that from everything we're doing for the time being. 'Cause
Okay.
I'll remember.
Sure.
I'll know to put in the 9s and the 5s and the ornaments. I want to just
Sure.
put down the idea of how to approach these dominant chords by putting in this minus the 2 and
Yeah.
then possibly a tritone or wherever you're going to go next.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
So the reason
Yeah,
why
sorry,
we
I
mentioned
apologize, but I just feel like it's just gonna confuse me to start seeing 9s and 5s in there. Let's save that.
sure,
I have
sure.
enough to worry.
So the reason we're doing it is to create harmonic movement. The
Right, and I
G7,
understand perfectly the idea that I'm trying to move the third and the seventh into my right hand. I mean, that's something that I'm working on every day. And one of
yeah,
these weeks, okay, I will surprise you with it, okay? But it's not
lovely.
like, it's something I've been trying to accomplish. It just
Yeah,
hasn't come easy, that's all.
no. Sure. So going back then, we've done the diminished seventh. So I'm not quite sure how many concepts that is, but the number one was that you can replace a tonic with chord 6 or chord 3 or a combination of both. If you do both, you would normally do 3 followed by 6 because the root progression there is down a fifth.
So show that for to show it an example of a six followed a three, a six followed by a three, or a three followed by a
Okay,
three.
so if I do that in bar 2, that's chord C, 3 rather, E minus 7, and then A minus 7.
Okay.
So that's the first concept. Tonic can be substituted with chord 6 or chord 3 or combination of both. And if it's both, normally it would be 3 followed by a 6.
Okay.
You could do it the other way around, but that would be the more usual choice. The second one was the idea of the tonic pedal that... Oh, sorry, no, missed the very first thing was the moving line just of the major seventh in bar 1 going to the major 6.
Okay.
And again, it's all about creating inner movement. Then we're doing this diminished 7th chord, but I'm keeping C in the bass, which makes it a tonic pedal really there. And then the diminished 7th there takes you to the Barry Harris scale
Right.
for the block chords there. D minus 7, diminished 7th, D minus 7. And remember that works because really that is from the F6 diminished, major 6 diminished scale. Because D minus 7 contains the same notes as F6. At the end of that bar, we put an upper structure triad on the G7. And again, this is something when you're looking through a lead sheet, you look on the dominant sevenths for opportunities to play one of the upper structure triads. And I'll just quickly run through what they are again. There's
Okay.
the
So
minor...
let me think of it with you. So I've
Sure,
got to be in the situation. I'm looking at a dominant. Each time you say it, it reinforces it just that
sure,
much more. Okay. So
yeah,
uh, right. So I like in my own mind, I like the flat 9 and the flat 13. Okay.
yeah.
So
So that is a minor triad starting on the root. Starting on the flat ninth of G7. A flat minor triad
right.
played over G and F,
Or it would
and
be like
there you've...
a D flat minor triad played over a C.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Right.
Generally speaking, with the triads, these upper structure triads, they work better when the right hand is playing the triad in either first or second inversion. So
Right. I remember you mentioned that. Right.
it works in root position, but there's something about that.
In your mind now, let's just if we think about it from the standpoint of let's say the two I'll give them like upper structure two being like the uh the two chord D F sharp A, let's say in the key of C. The
Yep,
tritone. The tritone would be F sharp starting on F sharp.
yep.
Then the major six eight, the sixth chord triad, the flat
There's
six,
also
the flat
flat
six
six,
triad,
flat six. Yeah,
and then the two minor, the D flat minor, the two minor
yeah.
triad. So those are the major
That's it.
structures. Now,
Yeah, they're the main upper structures. Yeah.
tell me now it would be helpful to me if you said, you know, these are the ones we use most of the time. Some these are the ones that we hardly ever. Is there some help there or not really?
Not really. They are all used quite commonly,
They're spread
and
evenly. There's not certain one like the flat
no,
nine.
I wouldn't say
Like
so.
when I looked at the thing, you see the flat nine is used all the time. So like compared
Yeah,
to
I think the flat ninth is used. You're right. The flat nine probably used more than anything because it's often come from a suspended four, where in the case of C7, you've got the ninth and the suspended fourth, and they both resolve.
right. So I'm just saying in terms of upper structure, is there one that is used most frequently or
Well, I suppose you would say that because it's got the flattened ninth in,
right?
that one tends to be used more often. Yeah,
So that's the
but I wouldn't say it's
that's the
in.
flat that's the one with the flat nine and the flirtine. That's the D flat minor.
Yeah,
Okay.
um, I wouldn't really say though that other than that point, that there's really any. There's no kind of hierarchy there. They are all used and they're all very
But it's
effective.
it's
And
helpful to me since it's all overwhelming in the beginning. Just to start, let's say, learn
yeah,
that one, start to incorporate it, and then add the
yeah,
second one, then add the third one, and so on.
yeah. The best way to do that is to take any dominant seventh chord. So take that and then go through all 12 notes and say, is there an upper structure triad there? So D flat, yeah, the one we've just been talking about. D, yeah, that one. E flat, is that in any of those?
Well, that's a sharp
E
nine, I
flat,
guess.
yeah, it's a sharp nine, isn't it? Yeah. Um, the E, that's a definite no because we've got the
Right.
major seventh there. So we can't. No, the note. Sorry, I'm going through that the wrong way. I'm talking about the top one. Let's start again. So C. Let's start off with C itself. In fact, and say so. That is actually. I'm using the flattened 13th there. The D flat. That's the minor triad, semitone above. The D. That's the upper structure 2.
Right.
Now the E flat, yes, you can use the flattened 13th one.
Right.
What about E? You can use the 13th. What about F?
No, we probably avoid the F,
No,
right?
can't use that. No. Okay, G flat, yes, that's in the flattened fifth one.
Right.
Okay, G itself, is that in anything? It's not in that. It's not in that. It's not in that. And it's not in that. So, do you see what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
vast majority of notes will be found in one of the upper structure triads, just the odd ones that don't. And it doesn't mean to say that you put an upper structure triad every time. It's
Right.
just, it is a nice way of making some chords sound really cool. They used in the right place, they can sound great.
Right.
So upper structure triads are definitely something to consider.
Right.
Then we went on to the diminished seventh, which was really a series of appoggiaturas. Now, we're looking now at bar 2 on line 2. It's a C chord. Let's look for,
I'm gonna let me. I need to take a page and make some. Just make a note here on. write down just the one thing I need to remember. Let me just get a pad. I just want to write. Certain things are so important. The Appoggiaturas, when we're approaching, let's say, a C, just a C major chord.
Yep.
If we're coming from the bottom or coming from the top, just let's go over again. In which case is it a scale note, and in which case is it is it a chromatic note? From the
It's a
top,
chromatic
down from the
note.
top, it's a scale note. Is that it?
Yes, yeah. And a semitone below, chromatic note from below.
Okay. So let's see. Here's a C major chord. So I mean, so when I'm playing the F in second inversion,
Yeah.
is that considered a Paggiatura coming out to the C or no?
Yes, it is. It is really. Yeah.
Theoretically, it is.
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah.
they're both coming down in the scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And
If you did this on a G chord, that's a C chord in second inversion with G in the bass. In classical harmony, we call that a 1C5 progression. Chord 1 in second inversion, sorry, going to chord 5 in root position. But really, what it feels like is chord 5 with two upper appoggiaturas.
right. Okay. Now,
So yeah, that is another example of the use of appoggiaturas, yeah.
now, what if I was playing the B? Let's see. So if I was playing the the B triad,
Yeah,
and then I went to C, that would be a lower Appoggiatura.
it would, yeah. Yeah,
Okay, I got it. Because they're all coming up a half note.
yeah.
Because
Or
what?
you could play the same thing, the B, and instead of going up, treat the B as an upper appoggiatura to the A, because that would be like thinking of it as A minor 7 in first inversion. So you could go either way there.
Okay.
That is used, by the way, very often in classical music. At the end of a whole section, you go into the tonic, and it's just placed just before the tonic and then resolved. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that one because I'd forgotten about that.
Okay. From below.
So
We got it. And from above. Okay. I got
so
it.
bar 5, again we've got this thing where we've got a C chord running on for nearly 2 bars, and so we want to create some kind of movement. So we're going to say, right, let's make this C on bar 5 into A minor 7. Now, we've now made that A minor 7, which works. We can say, right, let's tonicize that A minor 7 by approaching it from its dominant 7. So what's the dominant 7th of A minor?
D7.
E7.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What's the two chord? You mean?
No, we're making A minor the
Right.
chord 1. So we're
Oh,
approaching it
okay. So
from its
we're in the key
dominant.
of A minor. Is that it?
Yeah,
So right. It would be E. It would be B E A. Right.
It'd be E7.
Right.
So now the thing is though, although you can play E7 there, think about what the melody is in terms of E7. Let me play it like this. Root, third, fifth, seventh. What is the G on an E7 chord?
Uh, it's a minor, upper minor third. It's the minor third. No.
Well, it is a minor third. It's the flat. It's the sharpened ninth,
Right, or the sharp nine. Right.
which is used, but it's quite a harsh sound. I think I played that somewhere later on in this, but I think it sounds a little bit sort of over the top at this point in the arrangement. So the other alternative is, say, what about the tritone substitute for E7? What would that be?
You lost me. Where are we?
Okay, right. We've looked at bar 5 and said
One,
we're
two. Bar
changing
five is
this.
1, 2, 3. Bar five is the first bar in the second line. Correct.
No, that's bar 4. It's the second bar in the second
Okay.
line.
With the G7.
Well, G7 it comes on beat 3, but
Right.
beat 1 and 2, as it's written, are just C.
Okay.
So we said, right, we know we can substitute the C with chord 6, which is A minor.
Okay.
We said, having done that, we can then tonicize the A minor by having its dominant before it,
Yeah.
which we've tried.
Let me make a request of you. Okay.
Yeah,
When you say something, I know it seems I keep annoying you with this, but just
don't worry.
when you say the A minor, put your hand back on the keyboard.
Okay, so I'm playing it like
Right.
that.
Okay. When you do that, keep your hand down for a while longer. What happened was,
Sure,
it happens a lot. Like I'll watch something, and by the time I'm trying to
I know
assimilate
what
my
you're saying.
brain and
Yeah,
see where everything is,
yeah,
your hand is off the keyboard, and so
sure, sure.
right. So yeah, try at painstakingly try to keep your hand down there a little longer.
Yeah,
It'll be as time goes on, it'll be less necessary. But I
sure.
see now, like I see, okay, the A, okay, and the
Let me talk you through the voicing. So the left hand is simply playing the root
I
and
see
the
the 1/7,
seventh.
right, and the
Now
3,
the C at
right,
the top is the melody note, which
right,
is the third. So generally, if the third is the melody, I tend to double the third an octave lower
okay,
and put the seventh in between.
right,
Equally so, if the seventh had been the melody note, I would tend to double it and put the third in between.
right,
So both ways you've got that octave with the note more or less in the middle.
right. So the reason I say to slow it down is because I
Yeah,
will, believe it or not, like if you would have like 2 years ago, it would have taken me like 3 times as long to
yeah,
assimilate any of
sure.
these. It's a you don't know how far I've come. Let me tell you. Seriously, I mean the fact just
Believe me, I totally understand because
right.
I took me ages, really did.
So what I'm saying is when you're because I'm not used to playing spread voicings, it takes me a
Yeah,
second, okay? But
sure, yeah,
given that extra second, I see the 1/7 and then the 3 and so on. And,
yeah.
right, and the exactly. I see it. I and the
Okay,
G7 and the melody note. But it just takes me a second. So if you can just keep your hand
sure,
on there a little bit longer,
sure.
okay. All right.
Okay, so what we said then is, right, we're going to tonicize the A minor 7, make that the new tonic, and the way you do that is by playing the dominant 7th in the key of A minor first, which is E7, but when I tried the E7, it became apparent that the G is the sharpened ninth. Now, that's not wrong. It's a matter of taste. Some people would really like that. I think, to be honest, it's a bit out of context. It sounds a little bit Jimi Hendrix-ish for this kind of song, if you know what I mean. So the alternative is say, right, what is the tritone?
Just for our own purposes, I don't like the sharp nine. It'll grow on me, but
Yeah,
I'm not at a point where I'm not at a point yet where I find the sharp nine. It's a rare circumstance where I find the
yeah.
sharp nine
I'll tell you where the
at
sharp
this point
ninth.
in my at this point in the improvement in my ear, that's the only note of of useful jazz harmony that really hasn't found a home yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you where it does work, and it's when you do this, when you go sharp ninth to flat ninth, go into a minor chord. That's
Okay.
nice.
Yes, that sounds fine.
Because in actual fact, once again, we're back to the thing about appoggiaturas. The sharpened ninth really is an upper appoggiatura to the ninth. And where does it come from? It comes from, do you know about the melodic minor scale?
Yes.
So if I play a C melodic minor scale, it goes like this. Both the sixth and seventh are the same as in C major.
Right. I think of it as just a flat three.
Coming down, all the notes are the same as in the relative major, which is E flat major. So you've got flat and seventh, flat and sixth. I'll do that again. You're absolutely right. Melodic minor ascending is exactly the same as C major with one altered note, the E flat, the flat and 13th, flat and third rather.
Right.
However, coming down,
and coming down, it's the same as the natural minor.
no, it's the same as the relative major. Well, sorry, it is the same as the natural. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, which is the same as the relative major.
Right.
Yeah, natural minor is like descending melodic, but both ways.
Right.
Now, the important thing is, what's the relevance of that? Well, G7 is dominant in C major and also in C minor.
Right.
In C minor, you get the B flat, which is the sharp ninth, which wants to go to the flat ninth, and then that feels like it wants to go to C minor. Now that is a very useful thing about the sharp ninth, but
Right.
when it's played like that and just left, I agree with you. I'm still, I don't know whether I'll ever really settle for that, because it's deliberately a harsh sound.
Right.
Whereas if you do it like that, it's gorgeous.
Right. That's true.
So going back to this example, so we're looking at the A minor 7 in bar 5. So that's the second line of second bar, and we've substituted a C major chord with A minor 7. And we said now that we've done that, we can go back a step and say have a dominant seventh going to that, a 5-1, but we don't like the sharp 9. So the other alternative is the tritone substitute for E7, which is
The tritone substitute for E7 is B flat.
correct. So let's try putting a B flat major 7 chord in there. So we've just gone, and that works very nicely. Now, what have I got there? I've got the root, the 7th with my left hand. In the right hand, the melody note, G, is the 13th.
Right.
The D is the 3rd, and I've got the ninth as well.
Right.
I could play a flat ninth like that. Either of those works. I think it sounds more in context to me to play the major, the ordinary ninth rather. But flat ninth is fine too. So let's just do that again from, say, the end of the first line. Now, there's another little moving line that you can do there, which is the ninth of A minor 9. That's the B. So big. What's your stretch like? Can you stretch from A to B comfortably with your left hand?
I can just barely make a 10th.
Oh, and if you can make a 10th, that's only a 9th, so you can do that there.
Yeah, I can just barely make a 10th.
Well, if you can do a 10th, then you can certainly do a 9th, which is that. Now, so what I'm doing there is the left hand is playing the root, that's little finger on A. The B with the left hand thumb is the 9th, which is next to the 3rd. Now, normally you kind of avoid notes like that together,
Right.
but something about the minor 7th chord where that works really nicely. And then I've got the melody, which is the 3rd, and the 7th in between. So we do that, and it's that works nice. It's created movement. And then once again, I'm doing that. I'm playing the diminished 7th there. So now just here, what I did before was can do that, or we could just do a slight variation, say go play an A sus chord. Sorry. So what I'm saying is we're saying, right, it's a C chord again. Once again, let's try substituting it with chord 6. But let's make it slightly more interesting. Make it an A suspended 4th chord.
Tell me what you're doing there.
So the left hand is an A, that's the root.
Right.
That's the 7th.
Right.
The 5th, the 7th, the 9th. Now this is the important bit. The D is the suspended 4th, and that's in place of the C sharp. The melody note E is another 5th. And then it's wanting to resolve, as always, with the 4th, going to the 3rd, and the 9th to the flat 9th. But if we do it there on beat 2, it kind of makes the balance of the harmony. You've got one chord on beat 1 and then one on beat 2 lasting for beat 3. Now that doesn't work. If you have a chord lasting for the first 2 beats in 3 time, that works with a chord change on beat 3. But the other way round, the harmonic rhythm doesn't feel right. So what you would do there is go A sus 4 and then play chord 3, E minor 7. So that's root, 5th, 7th, 3rd, 5th, 7th, root. And then go back to A, but this time with the 3rd and flat 9th. So I'm going to go through that again. So this is the last bar of the second line. It's marked as a C chord, so we're saying, right, we can change that to chord 6, A minus 7. However, you can also change it to A7 if you like, as long as it fits with the melody. But rather than go straight to A7, we go to A sus4. Now the interesting thing about that is the notes of the right hand there are just the notes of an E minor 7 chord. Played over an A in the bass, that turns that chord into an A sus4 chord.
Yeah, just let me see it. No, okay, I understand. Like the B flat played over the C gives you the sus, right?
No, it's the D. That is a suspended fourth. A is the root.
Right.
The third would be C sharp. So D is the note above it, which is the suspended fourth.
So I'm sorry. So what chord are you playing on the right hand?
Right, in the right, if I take the bass note out, the notes of the right hand are an E minor 7 chord.
Okay, so
When I play the bass note A, that changes that chord into an A sus4 because E is the 5th, G is the 7th, B is the 9th, D is the 4th, and E is another 5th.
okay, so just let me just this. I don't think I've dealt with this before. So what you're trying to do is play a sus chord.
Yeah,
Okay, and the method you're using to do that. So normally, for example, when I think of it, I think of it. For example, if I'm playing, let's say a C in my left hand, when I play
yeah,
the B flat over it, the B flat is going to give me the F, right?
right.
And that's going
If
to
you were
give
playing, if you were
that's going
playing
to give me
a
that's going to give me the sus chord.
yeah, the
So if I
way to
play a
think
chord
of
a
it,
whole note below the tonic, that generally is the way that I. That's one
yeah,
method that I'm aware of getting the sus chord by playing a
yeah,
triad below the tonic, right?
yeah. So what you've
And what are
got
you
there,
doing?
for,
Is that what is that's not what you're doing here, right? This is something else.
right? So let's just give your example first and explain why that works. So if I take the C away, we have a B flat major 7 chord, B flat, D, F, and A. Now that is chord 4 in the key of F major.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So if you're in to get any dominant sus chord, you can play the major 7th, which is chord 4 in that key. So in the key of if A7, that is dominant 7th, remember, in the key of D.
Let's do
So
it in the key
chord,
of C just to make it simple. So in the key of
okay,
C,
okay. So G7 in the key of C,
right?
you could say G in the bass and then chord 4, which is F major 7. Okay, so
Right.
F is the 7th, A is the 9th, C is the sus4, E is the 13th. But you can also get it by playing chord 2 minus 7, D minus 7 over G.
Okay.
D is the 5th, F is the 7th, A is the 9th, C is the 11th. Of the two, your choice, that one is better because that has the 13th in
Right. So
it.
you're
But
playing
you still get a sus4 though, doing
right.
the
So
2 minus 7.
right. My method was playing the F major seventh over the G,
That's it.
and your method is to be playing what the
D minus 7, chord 2.
2 minus.
So you can
Okay.
play either chord 4 major 7
Right.
over the dominant, or chord 2 minus 7, and you
Okay.
get basically the same chord.
So when you
The
play the two
difference,
minus seven, what are you getting? You're getting
you're getting a sus4 again.
right,
The only difference is that yours has the E, which makes it the 13th, which
right,
makes it a really colourful chord,
right.
because we now have the 9th, the sus4, and the 13th.
Okay,
Whereas D minus 7 just gives you the 9th and the 7th. Sorry, and the sus4.
okay. So what would
Now,
be the reason to do it? What would be the reason to do it with the four as opposed to
right,
doing?
let's say it the other way around. Why aren't I using 4 when I've said that that is a better option?
Right,
Because 4 would have F sharp like that. Now the melody note is E,
right.
so that's why I'm just doing that one.
Okay,
But it's still a sus4. And then I'm going to just E minor 7, which is 2, and then back to A7, but this time making it A7 with a flat ninth. So we've got B flat 7, that was the tritone substitute, taking it to A minor. Got those notes together in the middle, ninth going to the root, and then we're doing that diminished seventh again, and then the sus4 going to E minor 7, going back to A7 with the flat ninth. Now I'm going to use the same progression again, just here. But remember, the beauty about the Barry Harris major 6 diminished scale is, as long as the top note in the right hand is a chord note and the bottom and the left hand note is a chord note, you can go either way with the left hand. So this time, instead of going just playing the same as the melody an octave lower, I'm going to start on F and go down, but also do it in octave. And then do the, just here you could go back, play that upper structure triad. You could do this. Tritone substitute, D flat 7. I think it would want that. That doesn't kind of sound so great to me. Of the two in this case, I think the G7 with the upper structure triad works more effectively than the tritone substitute, because the melody note is just the sevenths, and it tends to work better when the melody note is a more colourful note.
okay.
So I would stick to, and then do the diminished seventh again.
Okay, so let me tell you what I was thinking. But we could going forward.
Sure.
You have that book, or if not, I'll send you a copy. Actually, I would. Do you mind if I have your address in case I want to send you something like a
What, do you mean my actual home address?
some address where I can physically send you something by mails?
Yeah, sure, yeah. So 41
Yeah.
Beaver Hill Road,
Okay.
and it's Woodhouse, Sheffield.
Hmm.
And the postal code is S13 7UA.
7X13
No, no.
X7
No, S for Sheffield,
S
S for sugar.
S,
13.
right, 7UA. I got it.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. And so what this is what I was thinking. You mentioned those books that are written in the key of C. So I was
Yep.
thinking that you would have one of those and I would have one of them. If you have one already, then fine. Let me just see the one I have here. I have this one called Your First Fake Book. It's only good because can you see me on here? Are you seeing me?
Yeah, just hold the cover of the book up to the camera.
Yeah. I can't see myself. That's why.
Yeah, I can get that on
Not no, it's not
the
important. It's anyway. It's called Your First Fake Book. I can send you a
yeah.
copy of it if you don't. Do you have one or you don't have one?
No, it's all right. I don't have the physical copy, but I
Okay.
subscribe to an online library, and I know that that book is on that, so I
Okay.
can
Right. So
access that anytime.
the reason I think it's a good choice is that what I can do is uh, I will know all the tunes, and then I can write in the notes, like write in the thirds. Let's say in like as I mentioned before. Suppose I can write
Yeah,
in the third in red, write in the seventh in green, and then even perhaps put in the bass notes, like the one and the
yeah,
five, and then begin to play it in the
yeah,
key of C with spread voicing. And
yeah. Sure,
I
yeah,
can send it to you and you can correct
yeah,
it. And then you can begin to add the ninth at the appropriate time. Say, okay, here, put the fifth and the ninth in brown or something.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's sort of I don't see any. Try if. By the way, if you come up with any better ways of me learning this, I mean, I'm open to try anything. Like I've been struggling with this for years, trying to learn spread voicing. I just don't see any simple way to learn it. It's just like
Yeah.
a slow struggle that, like each few weeks or month, I look at the keyboard and I see a little bit more, and
Yeah.
until eventually it comes so fast. I don't know. I guess if you go to music school, you stay up all night for weeks when you're young, and you just learn.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I take your point absolutely. I would soldier on with it though, because it is much better than just playing all the chords with your left hand. Having said that, the recordings that you sent me, I was well impressed with them. You really do bring out the melody very well, and they sounded quite good. Anyway, so I wouldn't just stop playing them for pleasure, because at
Right.
the end of the day, that is the object of it all. And I would certainly try playing them with iReal Pro, the background, because then it didn't
All
really
right.
matter
That's the
so
next
much
thing we're going to do.
then.
I wanted you to actually y- demonstrate for me how to play along with iReal Pro. We wanted to spend some,
Right.
perhaps next week. Uh,
Ju- I've got it on the laptop. For some reason, I don't know quite why, it's very, very faint, the sound, and I've got my volume turned on full, so I'm going to have to find somewhere. But I can get it up and quickly show you what I mean. So I was looking at as time goes by, because I presume you learnt that from the Dick Hyman book, did you?
yeah, I mean, I basically, what I did. I told you what got me involved in starting to play the piano about 7 years ago. Now it's been 7 years. Was that I always admired the musicians when I was a kid who could play
Yeah,
any song. And so my goal was to be able to take a fake book and if I knew the song, to be able to play any song that I knew in my head,
yeah.
I could play. And so I've gotten to a point where I can play any song I know poorly. But
So,
I enjoy it. So that's okay.
oh, at the end of the day, that's absolutely what it's all about. So, I know last time you were asking me about how to know when to come in. So let me get the Dick Hyman book, because you sent me that. So is Right, I've got the copy in front of me now from the Dick Hyman book.
Okay.
Except for I've pressed the wrong thing and it's gone
Maybe
some.
that.
There we go.
Maybe,
Right. So I think the problem that you've probably had about not being sure where to come in is when it starts with an incomplete bar.
right. Let me just look at the music I have here. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can.
Sure.
I don't know why mine. What key is it? What key is it in?
Well, in the Dick Hyman book that you sent me, it's in E flat major.
I think it's funny. I'm looking at a different lead sheet, which I think is in the key of C. Let me see.
Ah,
Wait a minute.
I can change this into C.
I think that's in the key of C. Then okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it.
right.
If it's okay with you, yeah, just put it in the key of C for now.
Right. So, just can you see the cursor? I'm moving it about to the top right hand corner
Yes.
there. It says E flat.
Right.
Click on that,
Right.
and then
No, I
different.
know how to. I know how to use the program. The problem I
Right.
have is knowing how to actually interact with it.
Okay. Right. So first of all, do you know about the counting duration? And I've got that to say 2 measures. So I think by default it would be set on 1 measure, but
Okay.
it's better. Most jazz musicians like to have 2 bar counting because you get the feel of the beat more clearly that way. So I've put that onto two
So yeah.
measures.
So wait again. I have absolutely zero experience in here. So in terms of counting in, what it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. How do you count in?
Yep. So it goes, most jazz musicians would count it like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I put that on, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. Sorry, obviously you can't tell when the first one's going to happen, so you can't actually count it like that.
You're
But if
having
you
trouble with
just,
you're having trouble with the sound. Is that it?
uh, oh, I've just realised because I've got headphones on, of course,
Oh,
I can hear it perfectly, but you can't, can you now? I'll take the headphones off. Now, I don't know whether you're going to be able to hear this because for some reason when I take headphones off, this.
yeah, I hear it.
Yeah, wait till it starts playing now. Oh, actually,
I hear
that's a
it
bit loud.
fine. I hear it fine.
Right, okay. So, I think, am I right in saying last time you were saying that you weren't sure where to, how to
I
come
don't
in
know
with it?
anything about. I've never played with. I've never
Sure,
played other than solo, sitting by myself here. I have
sure.
no experience playing and
Right.
interacting in any way.
So,
So you need to help
when,
me.
when a tune begins with an incomplete bar, you need to know whereabouts in that counting it's starting from. Now, as time goes by, starts off with an incomplete bar just with one quaver.
Uh, let's see where we are. Okay, right.
Right.
There's only one
So,
eighth note in that bar.
so that, sorry, of course, your eighth note, yeah. Right. So the eighth note comes just after beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and
Right.
2. So if I put this on now, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. are you okay
That's
about
great.
what
That's
I
good. Yeah, that was really good.
now? All I was doing there, and this is what I strongly suggest you start off doing, is having you've got the mixing desk here, so
Right,
it's got drums, acoustic, bass, and piano, and
right,
you can alter the volume of those. So if you want, you can take the piano out, but I think that would be a little bit hard to begin with. I would practice just playing the melody. So leave the piano on,
well, I think that was
and
excellent. I think that was excellent. If I work with that, I think I should be able to at least get started.
yeah, yeah. Okay, and then after that, yeah, obviously what you work towards is turning the piano off so that you're playing the chords. But
Right,
I would practice. It's actually quite difficult to get going with the. I mean, it's good this because it highlights the bar that you're on. So it's because when you're reading from a lead sheet, it's really easy to lose your place.
right,
But it highlights it. It's great. You know where you are, and just practice and be sort of fairly liberal with the rhythm. In jazz, we don't stick to the
right,
exact
right,
the way it's written. It would sound kind of squared off a little bit. You anticipate beats, you play some just a bit before. Sometimes you play a bit after the beat, and all that stuff is just listen to Frank Sinatra or Tony
right.
Bennett singing this or somebody like that, and you get everything about phrasing from listening to them. But it is a very very useful, little device to have on your computer.
Right. So this is great. Okay. So the only other thing I was wondering, if you have like just a 2/5 or a 2/5/1 that you could just
Yeah,
show me how I can begin to sort
I'm
of
really
improvise with my
puzzled
right hand,
because
just playing like
earlier
mix
on,
or something.
when I put 251 in, it came up with a few things. And then a bit later, I put 251 in again, and it's just coming up with this one thing where it goes through all the different keys. So what it does there is go through key of C major, and then it plays F major 7 as a sort of pivot chord, taking into the relative minor A minor, and then we go from E flat minor 7. So we've gone up a semitone into the key of D flat there. That's 2 minor 7 5 7, one in the key of D flat, and then in the relative minor B flat minor. That tempo there, 120, that's going to be a little bit fast. But I can't understand where it's gone because before it had got one that just looped around 251 in the key of C.
Yeah, right. I'm sure there's one.
I don't know
'Cause
where.
I've seen it as well. Uh, can you let's see songs last visited imported edited trash blues Brazilian jet. Move the thing down. Let me see. Maybe it's on my computer. It's blocking. Hold on. Uh, training. Hit training down at the bottom.
Yeah, I've tried that and the same thing comes up,
Oh,
just this. But it's definitely there because
right.
earlier on I found it and it just sort of endlessly played 251 in the key of C, which is really what you want. You want something that I'll tell you what also, but I've tried looking in Latin. It's a shame that there isn't um, a Latin 251 because when you're starting off with that kind of thing, just experimenting with the scales, you probably find it a lot easier on some of the,
So
bossa
when
nova
you
rules
search
and
for
things.
251, that's all it provide gives you is this.
That well, at the moment, that's all I can find. But it's
Just why don't you just erase in C and just search it. Just go back. Just erase in C.
I've put that. I've put 251 in C, and
Yeah, erase
I,
the erase in C. See what happens. Erase it. Yeah. Now and then hit return again. Now. No, no, get rid of the C. That's it. Hit return now.
yeah, that's all that's happening. It's just
Oh,
coming
that's
up with
that's not giving you anything. For some
no.
reason, you're missing it on your program.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
find
tell
it. And
you what.
I'll
Look,
find it. And I'll send it to you.
I've got it on me my iPad, so let me just have a look. Yeah, look, on me. I'll stop this share and I'll hold
Okay.
this. Now, when I put the same thing in,
Okay.
just you can see you get it in C major,
Yeah.
and then it just keeps repeating. So that so
Okay. So I can't. What is it? It's playing just 251 D minor 7 G7 C major
yeah,
7 and then
it's
repeating.
just playing, at a nice medium
Okay.
tempo. Because you can alter the tempo of any of them, of course. Um, it says here underneath 251 workout unknown composer. This is what came up before on me
Right.
lap. But when you put it on, it's just the same thing as that one, but it's a faster thing. But that one would be a good one, to just practice, playing. I mean, you could just begin by thinking of a C major scale and just sort of
Right.
going up and down and keep changing direction.
Right. So why don't you just what is a good speed to start at?
I would say that one that's at 80
Okay.
tempo.
So why don't you turn it a little bit lower then? Turn it to about 70.
Yeah, yeah, okay, but you may find that in actual fact, it's harder to
Harder,
really,
slower?
you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, just play something so I
To
just get an idea of how you. Is there any way to point the camera at the is there any way to point the camera at the iPad?
um,
Here, when you're playing so I can see where you are in the score as you're playing?
right. The only thing is, I need to be able to see it too. Um,
You only need to hear it. You don't need.
oh no, it's all right. Is it? I was just checking it. Where's it got? Oh, there we are.
Could you show me
Um,
the screen? Hold it up close so I can, large so I can see it, like up to the camera so it gets bigger. I can't hardly see it. Okay. It's being blocked by the keys on top. Hold on, a little lower. Okay, right there. Okay, fine. Okay, yeah. So start. Yeah, then play with the right hand.
I'm going to play it a little bit faster because it.
Okay, fine.
Tell you what I mean. It's and
Hold it a little lower. I can't see it. You have to. That's it. There. Yeah. Okay. Okay. wonder if you just play like, can you like arpeggiate in one direction and then come down the scale in the other?
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
following.
yeah.
That would be easy to follow. Just okay. Good. Yeah. If you can put it on the piano stand. I'll
Okay.
be able to see roughly where you are. Let me just yeah, just like okay. Just tell me what the settings are on that, so I know you have it on.
That was on 90 beats a minute.
Okay, on 90 beats a minute, and what is it set to? What kind of swing or whatever is the settings or
It just says jazz medium swing.
the jazz medium swing?
That's it.
Okay, and you have it at how many beats per minute?
I've got that set on 90.
At 90. And how much do you have? What instruments do you have turned on?
Um, it's I've got the piano turned off, but let's do it. I'm going to do it again with the piano set for it's not responding to my touching the screen. There we are. So I'll not play anything with the left hand this
Okay.
time, and just uh, so that's
Okay.
with piano, acoustic bass, and drums
Okay.
playing.
Okay.
And I would certainly start with the piano playing because that means you can just concentrate on your right hand.
Right.
A really good starting exercise when you're playing with something like that is just playing notes of different lengths, starting off with long notes. Say, start off with, some people say play whole notes first, but I think I don't see much point in that. Play half notes, then go on to quarter
Like
notes.
just do it. Can you
Uh,
just do it? Do you mind just doing it for a minute?
yeah, sure. And
Okay.
then go on to swung quavers.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with half notes, two
Okay.
beats each, quarter notes on, and
Right.
then swung quavers. So, oops, sorry. noticed something that was. They've actually got this slightly wrong. If you can see, but it says D minor 7, G7, C major 7 twice. That's normal.
Right.
D minor 7, G7, C major 7 twice. And then they've put D minor 7 twice, followed
Oh,
by C
okay.
major 7. So that bit's actually wrong. So
Well,
let me
I'll be
just.
able to straighten that out. Let me just practice on what you sent me, and then if I
Yeah, the other one, if you go on the one that says 251 workout
right.
rather than 251, that one is written correctly. So it's got, when I put the search term just 251,
Right.
it's come with three things. One says 251 unknown composer. That was the one I was just using,
Right.
which has actually got that mistake in it. And then 251 workout unknown composers, which is correct.
Okay.
So I would look for that one.
Okay. That's good. Let me. This gives me something to work on for a while.
Yeah, no,
Good.
oh, absolutely, yeah. Right. Okay, doke, sir.
So I appreciate it.
Well done.
Okay. So yeah, like
I think,
tentatively, let's leave it for next week. And if I get enough done, but yeah, it's funny. I really am enjoying this. Like I've reached a
great.
comfort level where I'm not embarrassed to play in front of you. You know. So I appreciate
Good.
your patience with me.
Enjoy teaching it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks
Okay then.
again. So I look forward to seeing you
Okay.
probably next week, in all likelihood. But if there's
Okay.
any change, I'll let you know.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay then. Cheers
Okay.
then.
Bye.
Bye.